Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. In this video I'm gonna show you how I play crazy tapping licks without making any, or at least just a little, unwanted string noise. Let's get to it. Alright, so why this video? Through all these years I've read many comments on my rendition of Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata who went like, how do you manage to play this without making unwanted string noise? So I decided to show you my method for muting strings during tapping licks without using a fret wrap or a hair tie or whatever. We all know that a high gain tone makes a lot of noise, right? Because it amplifies every sound you make. So the first rule to have less unwanted noise is to lower the gain, is to have a less saturated tone. And yes, I know, how can I play fast licks with a low gain tone? The notes have no sustain at all. I saw that coming, don't worry about it. I said less gain, I didn't say no gain, okay? Even though I think you should learn how to play fast licks with a clean tone too, because maybe one day you will need that, alright? But this is a topic for a future video. Now, let's get right to the point. Many guitar players use a fret wrap or a hair tie to mute the strings. You may also use any piece of cloth or a dirty sock. This is a very good method, it's cheap and it really helps to get rid of unwanted string noise. So if you're up to it, use a fret wrap. Anyway, I never use the fret wrap, I don't know why, it's just not like me. Okay, that's it. And I think there are some downsides in using the fret wrap too. First of all, my guitar parts should be composed considering that I need to make this movement before the tapping part. So I need to have, I don't know, a pick scratch, and I cannot have open strings unless I want a muted open string sound, or I must have a long note, or at least long enough to allow me to do that, or I could do these movements very, very fast. Anyway, I never use the fret wrap, so I never practice these movements, this sleight of hand, I just can't do it. I mute the strings just using my hands, that's it. Let's see how I do it. Let's start from a very basic routine, a tapping lick on a single string. If I play, let's say, on a G string, I mute the lower string with my palm and the higher strings with the phalanges of my index, right? This part here. So if I don't mute, I will have a very sloppy tapping, right? Very dirty. If I mute the strings, I'll have a very clean tapping licks. Okay, but this is a basic tapping part. What about the complex tapping licks? Well, it's almost the same. I only need two more things. Yeah, one more than Apple's one more thing. My first goal is to learn how to tap with my left index. That is, playing the note without picking or plucking at all. You know, I have two hands, so I have two index fingers, two mids, etc. In the past, I used to start tapping licks with the right hand, so with the tapping. Even if I played on multiple strings, I usually started with the tapping, so always with the right hand, right? But an index is an index, so I can use them both for the same thing, okay? So the first next big thing is to be able to play a note only using my left index. It's a kind of tapping with the left hand, right? It's technically a hammer-on, even though it doesn't come from a lower note. The note just comes out of thin air, so. A common belief is that the pinky is the weakest finger, which is not. The weakest finger on the guitar is my index, because I never use it. It's always still. See? So I need to develop some strength in this little thing. And the second next big thing is to mute the string I move from, if it's a lower string, with the tip of my index finger, or any other finger. If I have, for example, three notes, let's say A, C, E on string 4 and D, F, A on string 3. When I play the first note without picking, I make sure that the lower notes, I'm gonna mute them with my palm, and the higher strings with the phalanges, right? And when I move to string 3, I mute string 4 with the tip of my index.
That's it. That's it.
Well, I mean, I have to practice this, but once I know the trick, then it's just gym. Repetition is the mother of skill. Let's try some octave jumping, which is an easy way to do more difficult tapping licks. Assuming that I'm playing on a regular 6-string guitar, I know that the interval between the last 2 strings is a perfect fourth. And that the interval between the 2 mid strings is still a perfect fourth. And so is for the first 2 strings. So if I play a lick on string 6 and 5, I can repeat the same lick with the same exact intervals on the next 2 strings. And then on the next 2. So if I play these notes A, C, E, D, F, A on strings 6 and 5, when I start on string 4, I just have to move up 2 frets and I have the exact same notes. And when I move to string 2, I just have to move up 3 frets and I have the same notes, right? I call this a basic complex tapping part because it's not really basic because it's not played on a single string, but it's still repetitive, right? Somehow symmetrical. So I play the first part, I mute string 6 with the tip of my index, and then I move on string 4 and do the same thing. And this is very important. When you practice this, you have to move like a cyborg, right? Very important. Don't do this when you move to the next strings. Don't close your hand like this. Don't stand still with your right hand. Move like a cyborg. I don't care if you don't get the right notes, right? Do the cyborg movement. You will develop a better aim very soon, better peripheral vision, right? For now, just do the right cyborg movement. Okay, it's the same intervals, so you can move like this and not like this. Okay, it's more efficient and more elegant. So when I move on to string 4, I mute string 5 with the tip of my index, and all the rest I will follow with the palm. And then on string 2 I do the same thing. The index tip muting thing, the phalanges muting thing, and the palm muting thing. Right? But what about string skipping? I just have to skip maybe 1 string, but the muting happens the same way. Index tip, phalanges, and palm. Right? I just need some more practice. That's it. Alright, if I need to play some even more difficult tapping licks, I just need more practice, right? See the difference between technique and gym? It's like lifting weights, okay? I'm not an expert, but what's the technique for biceps? Well, it's this. Alright, this is easy. I mean, the technique is easy. Now do it a million times with more and more weight, okay? The technique is easy, all the rest is practice, which of course it takes time and discipline. So if you want, for example, to play the Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, you have to practice exactly like this. And you're lucky because I've already figured out an efficient fingering for you. I will try some notes of that tune. I'm going to use my method, so if you haven't seen my video on how I practice speed and accuracy, I will put the link in the description below. Alright, let's get to it. First 3 notes, there's a large stretch, 0, 4, 9. I'm going to practice this a little bit till I'm comfortable doing it. And I had this great idea to use a multi-scale guitar. How clever of me. Okay, then I move on to the next string, the next note. We have 7, 11, not the convenience store, E and G sharp. I just plucked the first note because it's an open string. You may have noticed this. Okay, so how do I mute string 6? I follow with my palm and I do the index tip muting thing, right? So I need the note to be good, right? It must be full, rich, clear, and ringing. Not like this, right? But all right. And then I will move on to the next note or next bunch of notes. One note is great, okay? As long as I play at full speed. So. Okay, there will be a point where you'll have to mute with the mid or the ring finger, right? Different finger, same technique. See? E, G sharp, here you have to mute with your ring. Anyway, same practice. Okay, when you get to the first string, you have index and mid. Same technique. Right, and then you have to move on to the next chord, which is G sharp 7 dominant, but the arpeggio with the tapping is just a triad, so it's easier. Guess what? Same technique. So you start with the index tip muting thing, B sharp, G sharp, muting, B sharp, muting, legato, tapping. Okay, same thing here. You have to mute with the mid. Okay, maybe the most difficult passage is here, when you have B sharp and D sharp on the same fret. You have to practice a little more because, you know, your fingers are like one over the other. That's it. That's basically how I mute the strings during crazy tapping licks. Alright guys, that's all. Thank you very much for watching this. I hope you guys found this useful. Let me know dropping a line in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe to my channel if you liked my video, and see you next time. Ciao.